Hey, good afternoon. If you're in Eastern time zone, I'm Tim Richardson. We're excited having you on here for the 5 big buying mistakes you can avoid. Actually, a little secret, we got more than 5 today, but anyways, we're excited. Going to introduce you to our guest. I brought him in special for this 1-hour little workshop here, and we're going to try to, our goal is to stump Eric. So I need you guys to figure out. We're going to go figure out the chat area right now. So while we're waiting for everybody to get logged in, find the chat area and just type in the city that you're watching from. That would be fun for us to give some shout outs to you. We already got some shout outs from Mark. Hey, Mark, yeah. Terry and Becky. Yeah, tell us where you're watching, listening from. That'll be fun. So Rob, greetings. James, Bill, thanks for joining us. And
now that I said good luck, I feel like there's going to be like bullets flying all over me.
That'll be good.
Oh,
we have Mike in Baltimore. Nice. So Bill's down in Floral City, Florida. Must be nice. I hear in Ohio, where we're doing this from, is going to get snow tonight.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
At least it's not 9 inches like Michigan.
Yeah, no, let's not
Becky's
do that.
in Southern Illinois. Carmela, greetings in St. George, Utah. And Terry's out in California where it's morning. Good morning, Terry. And we have Martha in PA, Grand Terrace, California. Rob, hey, and Michael in Minnesota, Long Island, New York. Charlie, greetings. Mark, yeah, you guys have gotten it. Dee's in Maryland, awesome. Thanks for taking time. We've got some great stuff. Guarantee you, if you haven't found something by the end of this that saves you a lot of money, we'll give you all the money back that you paid for this webinar. So anyways, once again, my name is Tim Richardson, and it's my privilege to help the owners of RV Wholesalers. They said, hey, this isn't about selling. Go educate people. Like, there's no way we can sell any more RVs than the 5,000 that we're going to sell this year. I mean, they'll keep stretching, but you know what I mean? Like, of the 600,000 sold, there's like no way that they can even come close to selling that many. And so this isn't about selling. This is about equipping you guys so that if it makes sense for RV wholesalers, that's fine too. But wherever in the world, and I mean world, you're buying an RV, these are tips that can help you today. And so we're going to jump into the hidden fees. So let's go to our next slide. Oh, my first camping trip. Almost forgot about that. Seriously, that's my dad right there with his hand on my first RV. He built that thing. And well, I like to say, well, you'll see here. So we took this on a little vacation we were in British Columbia. That's actually where I was born. And we went out to Boot Lake for this little vacation. And there's only one road out there, and when you know, this huge tree right here had fallen over before we got there and blocked the road. So what do you do? Like, we didn't pack chainsaws or anything, and I recommend bringing a chainsaw in your RV once you get your RV, but we didn't have one. So we built this little lean-to and camped out that night, and kid you not, about 2 in the morning, I remember waking up. My 2 brothers were all sleeping under this lean-to, and I wake up and I was like, Mom, wake up, I want to go sleep in the RV. So we go sleep in the back of the truck with the RV topper thing. And the next morning, my brothers are walking around the little campsite, and there's huge bear prints, like black bear prints. And so I like to say, like, RVs saved my life, you know. So I have a special place in my heart for RVs. And I'm really excited that you guys are taking time to learn, not make the mistakes a lot of people have made the first time buying an RV. So kudos to you, and thank you, Eric, for joining us.
Yeah,
this is Eric LeRoy. Eric, oh man, so he's been helping thousands of people get into RVs, making sure it's the right fit and educating them and doing all that kind of stuff. So our goal is to ask some questions in the chat, and we'll see what we can get answers out of him. So it's gonna be fun, and we're gonna record this whole thing. So don't even worry about taking tons of notes. We're going to make sure you get a recording link 3 hours after this. You'll get a webinar replay link in your email. So check that out, and let's dive in. First thing, I think a lot of people make this mistake. They don't ask for that outdoor price, and And let's just dive in and figure out why that's important.
Oh, that's the single most biggest mistake you could ever make. I mean, let's say, for example, I mean, you're excited about it. You're placing your order, but they said, yeah, this is what it's going to be. They don't ever show you anything, and that's just, and then come the time you come to pick this thing up, and now you're being hit with all these fees that it wasn't talked about before. And one way that you can avoid this is just asking up front, what is the out the door price? Like, what is it when it is hooked up to my truck? I'm leaving. That's what it is, and
good, yeah.
and and a lot of the times they're not going to want to show you this because there's obviously something there that you're not going to want to see, and they know that. So what they're going to do is they're an artist. I mean, that's, most salespeople are artists in what they do, and what they articulate is the reality that, yeah, this is what it is, but when it's really not, they're playing on your emotion to just go ahead and give them the deposit without you asking any further questions.
Yeah, that's interesting, because whether you go to a show, which I always thought, like, shows, man, go get there, you get the best deals, and then we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so you make a deposit, and you're saying that's when you need to ask for that out the door price. Make sure that when you give them the money for the deposit, you're saying what's going to be the total at the very end, tax it, all this stuff. Like, just tell me everything.
Yeah,
include it all.
And you want to actually do that before you even give them the notion that you're ready to give them your deposit. Just say, before this, I want to see everything, hooked up to my truck, ready to go, or shipped to my front door. I want to know everything before we can even talk about a deposit. In writing too. In writing. You want to see that, and they'll be creative on how they send something to you, or they might break it up a little bit, but you really want to see at least like a breakdown in the same email or same letter, something that shows it all together. That way you can have something approved. That way, if they pull something later on, you can pull chalks and get your money back legally. Yeah, so you could even write in there and say, hey, if this changes by $1 even, I have the right to get my deposit back. Yeah, and we'll talk about why that's important later. But man, good. So this is kind of how the game plays out sometimes, and we're going to talk about the hidden fees that are tacked on that you don't know about. But what you're asking for is really a sales agreement. Before that deposit goes in, you have a sales agreement, which is, you would always ask for that anywhere else, any other type of service. A guy that comes and gives you an estimate to work on your driveway, whatever. I mean, it's a sales agreement. This is how much it's going to cost. If he runs into some issues, you gave me a quote and this is my price. So that's basically what you're asking for. It's not uncommon to ask for that. So don't let them make you feel bad for asking that. And that sometimes happens. And then what happens a lot of times is there's a time between a purchase agreement, a sales agreement, and the time that you pick up your camper, right? So there's this gap of time, especially if you're ordering a custom RV right from the factory. It's come to the dealer, and then after it comes to the dealer, then they prep it and do all the stuff we'll talk about. And then they call you in. It's like, hey, your RV's here, and you're all excited because you've got the camping trip scheduled for that weekend, and you bring in the family and you sign the final paperwork, and then as you're signing the final paperwork, and you just walk through the camper, the kids have seen it, they're excited. A lot of times they have you do that first before the paperwork. You've already like touched it, felt it. Kids have picked out the top bunk, who's on top. Like, they figured out that bunk bed and everything's ready to go. Then they say, hey, come on, let's do the final paperwork with sign the closing documents. And then you start looking at the closing documents, and then you notice things like, what is that? Yeah. Like, what's that mean? PDI. What is that? Can you explain why this $1,200 fees here? Yeah. And then what do you do at that point? It's like, okay, I just waited 4 months for my RV, and my kids are excited. We're going camping this weekend. Yeah.
what are you going to do? Like pick out another one on the lot and hope
Yeah.
that it's even close to what you wanted, or
Yeah.
walk away, or are you going to go to the next dealer down the, you can't like.
Well, they're definitely banking on the fact that you're not leaving without it. Some people will. They'll just say, you know what, wipe their hands, cut the loss, and just bail out. But we'll say 9 times out of 10, after the family falls in love with it, shoot, even the dog found the right corner to sleep in. Everybody's happy, and and then you get hit with these fees, and it hits you immediately, and you have that sinking feeling that it's like this isn't over yet. And this is why it's super important to go back to the first fact of getting everything out the door. Out the door price means out the door, hooked up to your truck, ready to roll or delivered to your house. Like in things like a pre-delivery inspection, man, like you shouldn't even be paying that anyway.
So you said the dog picks out the little corner?
Yeah.
I just threw up a poll, like how many of you guys camp with pets? Because I want to know if this is important to our friends here.
It's super important. I know. I take my dog.
So far, the people camping with pets are winning.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Your pet is a child. I don't care who you are. They are your little boy, little girl. They're family. Of course, they got to come with you.
So while we're going to dive into these hidden fees that he was just starting to mention, and the PDI and all these different things, I am going to give you guys a free PDF, a one-page PDF. You can download it from the chat here in just a second. Right now, boom. Look for that. That should be showing up in your chat area. So look for 5 hidden fees. That's a one-page PDF. You can download it anytime. You don't have to do it even right now, but at least you don't have to write all this stuff down. So that'll be there for you. So let's see what the poll said. 85% with pets, 15% no pets. So good choice.
The other 15% is missing out.
So, hey, what is PDI?
PDI.
So I just threw up the first hidden fee. A lot of times that we're seeing show up, and what does that even mean?
Well, it definitely doesn't stand for the perfect dog invited. It stands for pre-delivery inspection. And as I was just saying before, it's something that nobody should ever have to pay. It's like whenever you go to the car dealership and buy something, buy a car, this car has to go through a pre-delivery inspection, making sure that it's good to go before you actually take delivery of it, hence pre-delivery. So what a lot of the times these RV dealers, they will charge you for that. And, to make sure that the unit that you're spending, tens of thousands of dollars on is good to go. It's that's something that you should never have to pay, not for a car, not even for a lawnmower, let alone an RV. Sometimes you'll see these pre-delivery inspections are pretty stout. On average, you'll see them. They're anywhere between $1,500 and $2,000. Some are a little bit less. Some of them I've seen as high as $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah, you've probably got a lot of stories, because I know people call you a lot of times after some horror stories, and then so anytime you have a story from the last couple of weeks, shoot it in, because those are always fascinating.
No, there's a ton in the past. We'll say in the past couple of days, we hear about it all the time.
Okay, yeah, that'll be interesting. But the whole pre-delivery inspection thing, he's right. I was just at the factories this past week, went to the RV Hall of Fame, which was kind of cool, in Elkhart, Indiana. So basically 95% of all RVs are built right here in the Elkhart, South Bend, Goshen, Millersburg, Indiana area. It's kind of the north central region of Indiana. So anyways, I was out there, and sure enough, they have their own quality control processes and inspections, and then when they do their final inspection, it's kind of like the final is, let's send it across the road to a dealership, and then have the dealership do one last final inspection, just in case anything that we didn't tighten or whatever wheels loose on its way to the dealer is taking care of the dealer before it gets to the customer. So it's kind of one last check. It's like, let's just really make sure this RV gets there and is perfect for the customer. So they actually pay the dealership. The manufacturer says, hey, if there's anything that you find, go ahead and fix it. We'll pay you your full rate. We'll send you the parts. We want it to be perfect for our customer, which is you. And so it's kind of sad that you have dealerships that will charge money for that process. Like you said, it should be done by the dealership. Like, why wouldn't you expect that? So that's kind of sad. I mean, you do want this inspection done because they go through everything. I mean, they take the hose up on top of the RV and they're flooding it to make sure the vents don't leak and air conditioners tighten down tight and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great inspection. Make sure it's done. I would make sure you know whether it's going to be charged, and hopefully they aren't going to charge you for it. So
yeah, have that in paper, because that is the biggest one that you're going to see, and that's the one that's one of those that, as Tim was saying earlier, that that's one of those that they're going to hit you with as soon as everybody, including the dog, falls in love with this camper. They are going to hit you with that after, and what, as I said, 95% of the time, you're gonna accept it and you're gonna leave with it, and they bank on that. So just make sure that that's discussed very thoroughly before you even consider getting your credit card out for a deposit.
And a lot of them, and now they can put the pressure on because there's people in line for that exact RV. If you say no and you walk out without your deposit, I guess. If you walk out, they might even give you your deposit back, because at that point they've got so many people in line for that they can just pick up a phone call. It's like, hey, Jill, Mr. X just canceled. We have an opening on this RV. He had to wait 4 months. You can have it today. Come on down. So there is a lot of pressure to you have to take it, and you have to pay with these fees. So definitely do this up front. Number 2, we just had a really good question from Mike. Are the transportation fees that you mentioned, $1.50, in line with issues due to COVID and transportation? No, we're going to those numbers are going up a little bit, and good point, Mike. So let's talk about transportation, because it's a little different than in the auto world. But like I said, they're all manufactured in Elkhart, Indiana area, and then they have to get to a dealership. So if your dealership is in California, then that dealership had to pay several $1,000s to get it to their dealership to sell it to you. So talk about how that transportation fee works. So
transportation fees, this is something that you can definitely anticipate on paying, because the truth is that there's no such thing as a corporate owned RV dealership. And in order to say like cars, it's like, well, I've never paid a transportation fee on my brand new Honda. Well, that's true, because they're all corporate owned. It's all in the budget. But with RV dealers, including where I work here at RV Wholesalers, we're all independent owned. There's not a such thing as a corporate owned RV dealer. So therefore, it does cost money to get it from the factory to the lot. And that's something that typically the customer is going to cover. Now, in the rate of $1.50, I mean, things change all the time. And actually, I got to apologize that it's showing, even $1.50. Sometimes it's even up as high as $2 a mile. Given the climate of how much transportation is actually needed and the immediate availability of a driver to do it.
Right. Yeah.
So
and sadly, it's not like cars where you can just stack 11 of them on the back of a trailer, haul semi-load of RVs down the road to a dealership. Mm-hmm. They pretty much go one by one, unless they're small, maybe two.
Yeah. So let's so say for example you have this camper that you placed your order, that you are going to place your order on, and say for example it's a Rockwood. Okay, they're built in Millersburg, Indiana, but say you live in Garden Grove, California. So you would calculate how many miles from Millersburg, Indiana to Garden Grove, California, and then you would calculate the mileage with that, and you would get a roundabout number, give or take maybe a couple of $100 to get a good idea. But with that range that you have calculated up, now come time that they are going to be signing your final closing documents. Now, if that shipping charge you calculated, give or take $100, is a random number, $2,000, but you're seeing that it's $3,000. You best believe that there's some profit packed in there. So now it's just knowing where a dealership can pack in profit to make you pay for it and not even think twice. So that's how you could do that. You can kind of get an average, a rough guess, and compare it to what they are charging you on freight to see if you've got any kind of wiggle room in that freight charge.
Yeah, so definitely do the math. How many miles from Elkhart, Indiana to your dealership? So that way you know. Mm-hmm. Oh, another tip, make sure you ask the dealership to separate out the transportation fee. So if they paid, say the dealer paid $2,000 to get it to Florida, you shouldn't have to pay sales tax on that. So that shouldn't be taxable as far as the sales tax. I guess if you're in Florida, you might not have sales tax, but is that?
Yeah, it's 6%.
Oh, 6%.
Oh,
okay.
I think it's 5.6 or 6%.
Okay, so so you shouldn't be paying taxes on the transportation dollars. So just another way to save a little money, but make sure they separate that out.
Yep.
And Carmela asked, like, what if I drive all the way up from Utah and pick this thing up? Which is an awesome idea, actually, because it's kind of fun because you can make a little camping trip out of it. You know, see the biggest ball of twine. What is it?
World's largest Czech egg.
Yeah. But anyways, obviously you can't pick up at a manufacturer, so they'll never let you because they need to do that PDI process, the dealership. So whatever dealership you buy from, you can't pick up directly from a manufacturer. There's no manufacturers that do direct customer sales. So, but yeah, but making a trip to save a lot of money is definitely a good idea.
Oh yeah, it's always a good idea. I mean, shoot, I was just walking back in from lunch right before we hopped on this webinar, and there was a customer out here picking up his brand new Rockwood Mini Light. I was like, oh, I wonder where he's from. Yeah. Oregon. That's funny because last Thursday I was in here, and a couple was from the state of Washington, picking up a Rockwood. And they had their dog, Patches, that was their name. Oh, yeah, and cute dog.
And she said that they drove all the way from Washington to pick it up.
Yeah.
It was their second Rockwood. They had the other one 5 years. She said she just sold the other one and made more than she paid for it.
Didn't they? I think they said, I overheard that conversation. I think they even said that the buyer came from like 2 states away or something.
Oh, really? No,
I thought so.
That's the thing we're going to talk about for people selling theirs, like trading them in. Like, we got some advice for that.
We'll talk about that.
Man, good stuff. So transportation, let's hit a couple more fees and we'll get into some more questions real quick. So let's just wrap up these fees. What's the third thing that you see?
Third thing, if it looks suspect, it probably is. For example, and Tim, me and you talked about this before. I saw it again, actually, just yesterday. It was a Route 66 usage fee. I saw it again, and it was from Arizona. Again, I don't know what is going on in the state of Arizona for dealers, but they are charging you guys. I don't even think Route 66 goes through Arizona. But
did they say
neither here nor there? Oh no, they did end up purchasing through me, just because it's silly. So like if something looks suspect, right? Why do I have to pay this thing that I've never heard of before? It's like searching on the internet, for one. You can do that, because anything that has any sort of validity to it is going to have something that you can search within just a couple of minutes on the internet, right? So, like for example, search a Route 66 usage fee for RV, and nowhere in there are you ever going to see it. It's very comical with how they can get creative to make you believe, oh, well, the driver from the manufacturer had to use Route 66. The camper goes over this certain weight and they can't do that. No, stop. But there's one like that. There's some fees I know, like folks down there in Louisiana, there's some fees that you actually do have to pay.
The Cajun cooking fees.
Yeah, there is some down in Louisiana. I know that you do actually have to pay that is legit, and they might seem a little bit odd, but for the majority of the rest of the country is that if it sounds suspicious, it might be. And if you have a current deal working, let me see it. We'll send out my email here at the end of this. I'll be happy to take a look at it. If something looks off, I'll tell you real quick. I'd be happy to help you.
Yeah, because it's sad that this happens, and it's the one thing though. It's not a hidden fee if they tell you up front and you're okay with it. So I mean, that's why we want you asking these questions. So doc and title, number 5 there, for example.
That you're going to be
your
paying
state is going to have a different amount for what they charge to file title paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So tire replacement, that's number 4. I skipped over that one, but where have you seen some of those?
Oh man, yeah, I've seen in California is way they I don't know how it's even acceptable, but they'll take a trailer that just got delivered from the factory, replace the tires on it after driving.
Even though they're rated for 50,000.
Yeah, even though they're 50,000 miles. I know that it's getting some use being transported out there, but they're replacing this tire. They're charging you for brand new tires. I feel bad for you if it has 3 axles, because that's 6 brand new tires that they're going to charge you for. And you're going to pay the disposal fee on that, as well as the replacement fee. So it's some states have that, like California, Arizona. I believe Oregon might have that fee. I'm not too sure about Washington. I do see that more on the West Coast. West Coast states that would have some sort of a tire disposal or replacement fee.
Yeah, that's good.
And you should never, by the way, have to pay that either.
Think about this. If you have otherwise I'll go to a question, but is there any unusual fees besides that Route 66 one that you've seen here in the last few weeks? Actually, it was funny off of the last webinar that Tim and I did. I got reconnected with an old buddy from the Navy. Oh no! And it was crazy. Thanks for serving, by the way.
Thanks.
You've helped our country a lot.
And it was just so crazy how we managed to connect through a webinar. He was like, "I thought you looked familiar," but anyway, let's continue on. He's looking at this, this RV company that makes these custom Class B motorhomes, and he showed me the invoice, and it said pre-deposit invoice. I'm like, doesn't that sounds fishy? Like, I don't want to see a pre-deposit one. I want to see after it's all said and done invoice, like pre-deposit invoice. That was a new one. That was the first time I saw that one.
Because I think what they're setting the groundwork for is the situation that's happening from the manufacturers right now. Because as I was at the manufacturer just in the last week, they're all having to do price increases. It's just, as we all know, like materials hard to find. I mean, everything coming in. They have a lot of overseas stuff. There's tariffs. I mean, 100 reasons. They just didn't plan on the prices needing to go up like 3 or 4 times in a given year. And so what happens with these price increases is, say you ordered one today, and you agreed, say it's a $50,000 motorhome, or not motorhome, but a travel trailer. You paid $50,000, or you agreed for $50,000. It goes and gets manufactured, but then there's a price increase between the time you pick it up and the time that you ordered it. And so what happens is that dealership, after it comes off the line, that's when the dealership pays for that motorhome. So they pay whatever the price is the day that it comes off the line. Even though they agreed that you get it for $50,000, their price may have gone up, say $1,000 before it came off the line. Now they have to eat, the dealership has to eat that $1,000 if they promised you at that price. But if they do this kind of, what do you call it, a pre-delivery or pre-deposit invoice, something like that, where it's kind of nebulous, like this may not be the final price. If there's a price increase, we can pass that along to you as a customer. So that's where you got to really nail that down. It's like, hey, this is the price I'm going to pay. That's why we talked about that, getting in writing, do all that, because that way it doesn't give the dealership room to come back and say, hey, we can show you proof from the factory. The price went up $1,000 for us. We're going to have to pass that on to you. Or, hey, let's split it. Sometimes this is really bad, but I've seen one dealership, at least in Ohio, no names, but they actually sent an email out to all those people that hadn't picked up yet after a price increase and said, hey, we got hit with a $1,500 price increase today, and we don't want to pass that on to you, but if you're willing to split it 50-50 with us, we'll be able to keep this deal going. And the sad thing was, it was a $750 price increase. It wasn't a $1,500 price increase. So they basically covered all of their costs from the factory, and made more.
I which is kind of funny recently that you just brought them up. We won't mention their name because it's just there's no need to step out of professionalism, but it's I haven't really heard from anything about them recently, and I think that really people are starting to catch on to a lot of the what some people might call as BS, and there is a lot of BS out there. When you're talking about spending a lot of money, and there's predators out there where we just need to know that we're not going to the store to buy a bag of Doritos here. We're spending a lot of money, and you need to make it hard for them to put you in a position where it turns a really great opportunity into something real sour.
All right, let's wrap up. That's it for hidden fees. We got a bunch of questions. We're gonna hop through these and then talk about answer another question at the end here related to trade-ins, and then we're gonna dive into financing. We got a killer financing secret I'm gonna pull out of this guy, and it's gonna save us all thousands of dollars in the future. I guarantee it. And so Terry asked, when did the 2022 models come out? Just was on the phone with one of the factories today. They said, I'll see if you know the answer.
Well, if something's being ordered now,
Forest River.
Forest River, most Forest Rivers, if you order it now, chances are it might come out as a 2022.
Yeah, because July 1st they start rolling the 2022s off the line. So July 1st is, at least for a lot of them, is a good date.
Yeah, I think coming out. I was just talking with the regional sales manager for Primetime Manufacturing. It's a subsidiary of Forest River. And I had asked this question because I wasn't too sure. And this was about 2 weeks ago. And he said, well, just, one way to kind of think of it is like, if you order it now, we're kind of at that brink where if you order it now, it's going to be a 2022.
Well, that's perfect, because Terry's other question was, is it normal to have waiting lists? We are looking, and they told us it would be 10 to 12 weeks out. They're taking orders for one we want.
Yeah.
Has this become a norm due to COVID? Answer that one.
Yeah, it actually has kind of become the norm. And to kind of take you through a quick, we got a little bit of time. I'll take you through just a kind of a quick storyline how we came to be where we're at. Now, there for a while when all this COVID stuff hit the U.S. and everybody got locked down, things like that. Our administration, they came over and said, there was that slight whisper of the country reopening. Yeah, most of us might remember that State of the Union speech when they were saying hints that the country was going to reopen. It was probably back in May, and I swear overnight we were having so many computer problems the next day because we had so many inbound quotes coming in. We practically, as not only a dealership but a whole industry, experienced an increase of over 1,000%, literally overnight. And since then, it's been, nose to the grindstone every single day. I mean, where you'd imagine it slowed down the winter, it did not slow down this winter. I mean, we actually at RV Wholesalers hit records in the middle of January, which is totally unheard of. So now coming to now, things that we're experiencing COVID shutdowns. Somebody gets sick in an area of the factory. They have to close down that whole area of the factory, so that shuts down part of the building operation. Now, that's one thing. Two things, supply chains are interrupted. I mean, if you guys remember, not too long ago, we had a hard time getting toilet paper, and it didn't stop there. Everything, it's hard to get a hold of some things, so that delays.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
even
very
like the supplies for the upholstery people that comes from another factory
Mhm.
to the assembly plant, and so then that one goes down. Now all upholstery is backed up, so now they have all these trailers completed, but they're waiting for seat cushions. And,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So a lot of that kind of stuff happens.
And she's asking about Newmar. Well, I can't really speak for Newmar because I don't have sales experience with Newmar, Coach. But I would imagine that a lot in the same, that they are even experiencing shortage and supply chain disruptions, COVID shutdowns. I don't see them being any different, just a higher quality coach.
The reason is 70% of every RV part comes from one company called Lippert.
Yeah.
And so even Newmar, they use parts from these guys. So there's components that are all kind of coming from the same folks. So they're all.
So yeah, I mean,
no
I would say at an 80% confidence level with the experience that I have, that even Newmar is probably backed up fairly substantial, because for a higher end luxury coach, Newmar is one of the biggest names in higher end luxury coach. So I'd imagine their wait times are a lot like Airstream, where they're almost a year out.
I do have the president of Newmar, Matt's cell phone number in my. You want me to ask him?
Well, I'll tell you what. After this webinar, maybe you could, and Donna, make sure you're paying attention towards the end of this and write down my email address. I want you to send me an email. Maybe we can figure that out for you.
Do you mind if we put up your contact information?
No, please do.
Your email, your phone number. We'll just put it in chat. I don't have a fancy slide for you today. Sorry. But here's Eric LeRoy's email and his extensions there. Yeah.
Mike.
Is that right?
Sorry.
E. LeRoy at RV Wholesalers.
E. LeRoy at RV Wholesalers. Did you have it up on the screen?
Yeah, it's on the chat.
Okay. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, do you have, can you help Mike get a 2509S? That mini light is like great. I love that.
I love the 2509.
So what's the status?
I have about, I actually just looked at it this morning. I can't believe I forget.
You think about that.
But there's like 20, I think at least 20 people I have on speed dial waiting to go as soon as one just shows up. And we got to understand something, y'all, that like with the climate now, and to kind of touch on Carmela's question too, is that prices, they've been going up. It's no secret that with RVs, prices go up every year. And now just so with the availability of some supplies, like say, for example, just recently, the price of steel just doubled. Now that dealing with a camper, that's a lot of material. A lot of material in a camper uses steel. So, so just recently, to answer Carmela's question, there's been a 6% price increase across the board between Thor Coach, Forest River, some of the privately owned companies too. I'm not going to say some of them. I'm just going to say all of them, because nobody's safe from it. Everybody's buying the same stuff. So now to get a 2509, say for example, you wait, right? That price isn't going to wait for you. The wait times right now, say, if it's 14 weeks, right? Well, at least you locked in the price now, right? I can speak for RV Wholesalers because I'm affiliated. I work for RV Wholesalers. Now I know that with us, when you sign a purchase agreement, you are locking in that price, and the dealership is sucking up any additional price increase. But anywhere else, they're going to force you to pay that one way or another. So get your order in now. It may be later in the year before you get it, but here's the thing: you may still have a remainder of the year to use it, and you're ready to rip at the beginning of camping season next year. So there's a way to kind of be tactical about this, and I think with the wait times, to be planning for the beginning of next year is coming upon us very soon.
Yeah. There was a question James asked about this question right here, which is not getting the most for your trade-in. That's the mistake people make. So let's help him not make this mistake. Help him get the most for his trade-in. Like, what do you recommend for James right now to get the most for his trade-in?
The most for your trade, I would highly recommend.
And he's a Buckeye. He's from the state of Ohio.
Oh, he's from Ohio. Go ahead and write in there where you're from here in Ohio. We'd like to know where you're at. But to answer your question, the best way and the easiest way to get the most and move it the quickest is selling private party. Now, we typically know, like, going to a dealership to trade something in, it has a lot of convenience factor to it. But now, if there was a certain way that I could tell you there, you could be looking at the split difference of $3,000 or $4,000 between trading it in and selling private party. Now that's a lot of money. You can be, that's a lot of hamburgers that you can buy. I mean, that is so many hamburgers. So I really wanted a hamburger for lunch. Sorry, y'all. I really want a hamburger. But
if you answer all the questions right, we'll get you a burger.
Yes. So now, if I told you that there was a difference of maybe $3,000 or $4,000 between trading it in and selling it outright, I mean, that's enough to make somebody's mind change. But considering the convenience factor of trading in, and sure. Now, one thing to know when you're trading it in, you're going to get a low ball offer. Of course, you can go back and forth with negotiation tactic, and you may be able to squeeze 500, maybe another 1,000 for it. One thing I would really be cautious of is if they just give you what you're asking. That's scary, because if they're just giving you what they're asking, you can only imagine how much profit they have built into that into that unit that you're about to buy. Because where do they get the offset from? They get it from finance reserve, which I think we're going to cover here in just a little bit, since you're going to put me on the spot, Tim. Additional profits, like through freight, through pre-delivery inspections, things like that. So if they're just willing to give you exactly what you're asking, I would be very cautious about how they're coming across all that coin.
If you took trade-ins, you would be giving them a lower value. So
yes.
The NADA book, NADA.com, those numbers are more averages, so not real accurate. But you guys have a big book that has like kind of latest and greatest.
Yes.
And can kind of help figure out for people.
It's a market evaluation book. It's not like Kelley Blue Book for cars or anything like that. It's a market evaluation. There's 2 editions every year, and it's used more or less like a guideline, because it's not Kelley Blue Book. It's not something that is like a dead-on source that is practiced religiously like Kelley Blue Book.
The bottom line, if you go to Facebook Marketplace, like you said, or RV Trader, you're going to get your most dollars. I mean, some people may not want to hassle with that, but it's only about 8 pictures, and make it look nice, get some pictures, and you're going to be surprised how much money you get.
Yeah.
And people, like you said, they're going to drive a long ways. 48% of folks said this isn't their first RV, so this will hopefully be helpful.
Oh, okay. Folks, so it's a 50-50 this time.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah.
So that's good. I'm proud of you guys for not wanting to make mistakes twice. So you guys probably have some stories too, how you were taken advantage of the first time around. So yeah. James is from Hamilton, Southwest Ohio.
All right, down by I think that's North Cincinnati. Area. Yeah. I actually just sold a customer last week that was out around your area. I believe they actually did have a Hamilton address, but anyway, that's getting besides the point here.
Cool. So number 3 is not understanding terms on RV financing. Let's dive into financing. You made mention of something. Let's go right to the big secret, because you were talking about something you wanted to share. Oh, number 4, not knowing the big dealer financing secret.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. We'll work in terms and understanding how all this works in the RV world.
This is possibly my single most favorite part when I'm talking and doing these educational pieces here with Tim. I love it when I get to tell people about a finance reserve. The technical term for it is a dealer reserve. And most salespeople that you're talking to now, they're not going to know what this is, because that's profit that the dealership is keeping from them too. Where do you think their paycheck comes from? That's exactly where their commission check comes from, is from that dealer reserve, but they don't even know it exists.
Okay, so what is that? Tell me what. I don't have no clue. I do, but
so
people don't know what
a dealer reserve is back end money that a dealership gets from a bank when they offer in-house financing. So say I'm going to use it without any sort of QN on their company or anything like that. Bank of America, right? So say this dealership offers financing through Bank of America. Well, what Bank of America and this dealership have worked out is that you are going to offer us as a lender, and for every account that you get us, we are going to be getting you approximately 7 to 10% of the amount to be financed back to you as a kickback. It's like a memento, a thank you for opening up a new account for this. Now, this is one way that you can really kind of see. I've seen even some of the best sales managers out there just buckle. When and by the way, if all the negotiation that you do, and there's now currently a manager sitting in front of you, you're doing good, because the manager doesn't just come out because, right, as I told you, a lot of salespeople are artists. They are very good at what they do, especially at a show or something. I don't even think we have time for that, but stay away from shows. But if you have a manager sitting in front of you, up to that point, that you are doing very good, because you are beyond the capability of what that salesman can do to close you. Now, once you have that manager in front of you and say, well, how does this look? Well, I think I'd be ready to give you the deposit if you gave me 75% of your dealer reserve. And to see the panic ensue, it's kind of funny to see that manager just kind of panic or huff and puff around, because he is not making as nearly as much. And the reason why I say 70%, because you want to be fair, right? That is messing with their lights and their plumbing and keep the water on. That does go towards that too.
So how much? I'm just curious. Can you break it down a little bit? So, say I'm buying a $50,000, back to that, travel trailer, fifth wheel, whatever. And how much is the dealer getting back from a bank typically? I mean, is that a couple $100 or are we?
Oh no. On 50 grand, typically you can anticipate that's probably going to be anywhere from 4,000 to 4,700.
Wow.
Approximately.
And Mike just said he was offered a $1,000 finance discount if he financed. So there's depending on how much his RV was, but there's a lot of money that's coming back from the bank to the dealership. So
yeah, and there's other ways around with the financing too. Like with this dealer reserve, it doesn't even really pertain to just RVs. Like for example, going to buy your brand new tow rig for your nice new fifth wheel, right? You go to that truck dealership and you say, I want in on the dealer reserve too. Now for automotive, it might differ just a little bit on how much they actually get back, but it's not going to differ that much. So say if that truck's $70,000, well, you can anticipate it might be about $500 to $6,500. So, use it for getting your new truck, get it for, if you go to the power sports store for a new motorcycle or lawnmower or something, if they offer in-house financing, you can take advantage of it. Sometimes the finance might have a minimum, commitment. Some of the rates, as Mike say, compared to a local credit union might be a little bit higher, but also think, compared to your local credit union, they're only offering as maximum of an 84-month loan, where most rec loans go out to like 15 years, and if it's over 50, you can go over to 20, pay it off in that 84-month term. You're still paying less interest than what your local credit union was offering, even though the rate on the deal is higher.
So you can get a loan through an RV loan through a dealer, say it is 6.9%, 7%, we'll say. You're saying get a 20-year loan or a 15-year loan like that, set it up like that, pay it off in the 5 years or 8 years.
Yeah, pay it off in 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
And you'll end up paying.
You're probably going to pay like
0.5%.
Yeah, maybe 2.49.
Right.
Or some. I'm not.
So there's some games to play.
Yeah.
But say folks, this is really fascinating. You're saving a lot of people money here. So, but say there's someone. I know there's people that have been very frugal and have saved and worked hard and retired, sold a home, whatever. They're just getting into RVing, want to pay cash for it, which is awesome, and just not having to worry about debt is a great thing. So how can they take advantage of this finance discount that you because you guys do it differently, kind of like what Mike was saying, $1,000 back.
Yeah.
You give, I know the owners.
We give the whole thing back.
I know the owners, like, the first time they got a check from the bank, they're like, what is this for? Like, that was not part of our budget. Like, let's give this to the customer because we have already, covered our costs, made our profit that we need to make per vehicle, and the financing was a little extra bonus thing. So you guys give it back. But if somebody says, hey, I don't want to finance it, and they walk in with cash, they can't get the $5,000 discount. So, is there a way that you can still help those kind of people, but.
Yeah. And with coming in with cash, nothing wrong with that, but sometimes cash buyers actually end up being the ones that can actually capitalize the most on the savings. Because say, for example, you do the 1-year minimum commitment, set aside 12 months worth of payments, right? Do a large principal only payment for every bit of it minus that 12 months. Personally, I like to say about 13 or 14, so you don't accidentally pay it off too fast and get charged back. But, pay off the entire amount of that minus 12 months worth of payments. Simple interest loan. Recreational loans are simple interest. So you're only going to be paying the interest remaining on that amount, on that remaining amount. So if the remaining amount is $3,000, for example, and your interest rate that was put out on it is 6%, 6%, 2,000, you're only going to be paying maybe $150 to $200 on the remaining amount. So cash buyers, you can really capitalize on doing that. And I know that there's people out there, I don't finance my toys, I don't do this, and that's fine. But if you really want to save your money and really stretch it,
so
I recommend it.
You're throwing away $300, $200, whatever it is, in interest to get $4,500.
Thousands
in our $50,000 example.
Makes sense.
So it's definitely something to think about. James asked. He said, "I've seen RVW advertisements on Facebook for a certain price, with a financing discount." So if you see a financing discount and then a price after that, which is usually done like through quotes and stuff, they don't usually. There's a thing called minimum advertised price. So the general public, they're not allowed to put out their low prices because they're below like MAP pricing, minimum advertised price. So the manufacturer gets mad if there's a number that shows up on the internet that doesn't have a relationship tied to it, meaning they don't know your email, they don't know you, or you haven't registered for something, or had a connection with that dealership. Then they can't show you the lower prices if they're going to go below MAP. A lot of people now aren't really going below MAP much, but like with you guys, that number, and then you guys figure out how much money you're making from the bank for financing, throw that on there so they can see if they do finance, you can save an extra $4,000 or whatever the number is, $4,500.
Yeah, it's I'd like to say that it's no catch, but some people might say, well, the 1-year minimum financing is a catch. Well, sure, okay, I'll buy that.
It's cool that banks,
but it's when you're talking about a year of commitment, it's not like you got to be married to this thing forever, and to have the freedom to pay this thing off practically is as fast as you want.
And then you could also switch it to at that point, you could switch it to a credit union.
Switch it to your local credit union at that point,
Take advantage of the discount.
Yeah,
then switch it.
It's exactly as explained. There's no catch. There's, it's just a good way to spend, to spend your money and to save. As I said, that's a lot of hamburgers.
Yeah. And a lot of times you don't want to tie like a luxury vehicle to your home loan, so a lot of times it makes sense to not put that, tie it to a house. That way, if you have to, something goes sideways and you can't make a payment, you're not going to lose your house also. So
yeah, no,
there's a couple things.
Not a good idea.
Let's see, not checking out service and wait times. Let's go real quick to Dave. He's one of the founders and owners of RV Wholesalers, his brother Mike and him. And I think it's kind of interesting. He moved his office up into the service department 2 years ago, did a little hole in the wall, so he could get a handle on making sure customers were taken care of, which I think is pretty cool. But let's go to Dave real quick. This is just a little 2-minute video.
Hey guys, glad to help. I've kind of been serving people or helping people my entire life. It's kind of how we were raised, I guess you could say, to put other people first, take care of other people. So when we started the dealership, it was sort of a natural for me, especially if you look at my teaching background. I taught for 10 years. I've always enjoyed teaching people new things. I've always enjoyed helping people, both professionally, personally, etc. Taking care of kids and stuff was such a joy, such a pleasure. So when Mike and I opened up this dealership, it just kind of sort of wasn't even a choice. We're going to focus on the people that we sell to. We're going to take care of them. We're going to treat them like family. And again, that's just how we were raised. I remember we'd been selling for a few years, and we had the idea of putting a used unit on eBay, and it did really well. We put another one, and long story short, through the winter months, we had sold all of our used units. And in the spring, we thought, what wonder if people would buy a new unit? So we put a new unit on eBay, and a crazy thing happened. A guy from Iowa bought it. Put another one up. A guy from Texas bought it. And we thought, man, we've stumbled onto something here. And I never will forget my dad came in to check on us, see how we were doing, just to visit. And we were telling him how great this thing was, right? We're going to be able to sell RVs all across the U.S., it appears, through eBay. And I'll never forget, he just kind of looked at us and he said, you guys started selling because of service, right? You did service first? Yeah, of course, Dad. So service the most important thing? Yeah. Well, how are you going to service people that aren't even in your state? And it was kind of a low moment, it sort of like sucked the wind out of us. And we kind of regrouped for a couple of days and thought about it, even prayed about it. And then the idea popped in our head, hey, what if we found someone in each person's hometown to take care of them? And fast forward 23 years later, that's our nationwide service network. And now we're able to sell to people all across the U.S., all across Canada, and take care of every single one of them. And I think one of the things we're most proud of is that we've never had a customer not get serviced anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. We've always been able to find someone to take care of them and someone to meet their needs, And
Thanks, David. So we're going to talk about, take that one more step into the whole idea of what about extended service contracts? So like, how do you get service beyond that? So I think that's really cool what you guys can do with Nationwide Service Network, where that's the big question that a lot of people ask. Like, okay, so I drive from Utah to Ohio, buy an RV from you guys, and then how am I going to get service? Well, kind of the cool thing is, like, I live in Cleveland, and so I never go camping anywhere near Cleveland. Like, I go like 3 states away, and so if my RV, according to Murphy's Law, my RV is going to break down, it's going to happen when I'm in Minnesota or something, out there. Or
that's when it'll happen.
Looking at the precedents up on the stone.
Yep.
Mount Rushmore. But so that's what's cool about this whole nationwide service network he was talking about. And how you guys have vetted people that can come to me at my campground or, like, or in the area where this stuff happens. So that's good. So real quick, we're going to dive into the service contracts. James asked about Class A diesel. Keith asked about Class A diesels. What do you guys do for diesels and
as far as Class A diesels, I know one manufacturer that we offer from Nexus RV. I know that they offer a diesel Class A, and I would have to check and see if I would be able to order one. But Keith, if you didn't write down my email address, go ahead and do so.
I just put out the link to nexusrv.com. There's some Super C, some really cool stuff. This is a company just took cameras into the facility about 4 weeks ago and met with the president there, and he's awesome. Like, this is like one of those companies that hasn't been bought by what happens a lot of times is these RV manufacturers, they grow up and then they get bought by a big company that comes in and says, hey, we want to make a lot of profit. We're going public with this. We're going to add it into our portfolio, and then everything changes. So this is one of those companies that these two guys started it in like 2011, and they still have that family, like, hey, let's just take care of people. He even gave like his cell phone number to all of, put it out on YouTube. It's like, if my people aren't taking care of you and my warranties aren't working and you're not getting help, call me direct. Like, this is like, that's how much they care. And so they put a lot of really cool stuff, build the frame out of steel instead of aluminum, so that all the walls and everything, it costs them more money. Doesn't really add much weight, but it ends up being solid like a bus instead of like my friend who has 50,000 miles on his motorhome, and he's like, Tim, he's like, I gotta buy a new RV. Like, it's gonna fall apart. Like, I'm driving down the road and I can just feel it like moving all around. Like, the frame is separating from the unit. Like, I gotta get a new one soon before this thing's worth nothing. Like, that's, so they have some good quality stuff. So check that out. Hopefully that's helpful. But extended service contracts. So basically, what do you get with the manufacturer's warranty? You get about a year on the.
Well, we'll just go over averages. All manufacturers might vary a little bit, but not a whole lot, unless you're talking about a Nexus. And Nexus, their warranties are absolutely amazing. Just not even short of mind blowing. It is mind blowing, but that's another reason to look at Nexus too. They're a great company. But say most manufacturer warranties are going to have like a 1 year wraparound coverage on the entire unit. Most are going to have a 2 or 3 year frame and structure warranty, and most are going to have a 12 or potentially a 15 year warranty on the roof. Depends on if it has a membrane or anything like that. Just kind of be sure about what the exact warranty is spec'd out for your unit before you buy it. And most salesmen are actually going to know that. That's probably one of the few things they won't BS you with. Now, what I think what James is asking, extended service contract in addition to manufacturer warranty. Typically, you want to be clear when buying a extended service contract that it does not overlap the manufacturer coverage. Now, because if that's the case, I mean, you're throwing money away in a fairly large amount, depending on what you're buying. But say, and to talk more about extended coverages and warranties and things like that, it's important to look at what kind of warranty you're getting.
Yeah.
And I think we might be jumping a little bit.
No, go ahead. Let's break it down. There's basically 2 types of service contracts. So what's kind of one that you see out there pretty common that I would say maybe doesn't cover quite as extensively as the other kind? Let's give them the two types of.
Well, first you'll have your first one that most places are going to sell you because they get them super cheap and they sell them to you for a ton of money. And that's called a stated warranty. Basically meaning that it states that it's going to fix this and this and this, but somehow, some way, they're going to find a way for that problem to be related to something else that isn't stated. And it's basically you just spent all this money on something that you couldn't even poke a stick hard enough at to do anything.
So the contract will state the items that are covered. So it's stating we cover the refrigerator, but what they're not saying is if the refrigerator goes bad because the inverter went out and the inverter is not listed there, then that means the refrigerator is no longer covered because it was damaged by something else. That kind of stuff. So, but anything listed on a stated, that's what's covered. So it won't be a super long list. It'll have quite a few things on it, but not like real long. And then with the flip of that, which is a more comprehensive type of coverage, which is at the end of the line, I mean, at the end of the day, you want something that pays your bills, right? So it doesn't matter, if you spent money on it, it better pay the bill when the bill comes, and that's what exclusionary, right?
Yeah, then your other one would be the exclusionary, which it says it very, very plain and simple.
Everything's covered.
That is just like everything is covered except this or that.
And those items will be things like brake pads, like stuff that you would normally
wearables.
Have to fix anyway. So it's everything's covered, excluding. So that's why it's called exclusionary. These things. So that's the one that's going to get you your best coverage. Costs a little bit more. Sometimes they're making the stated one look like that, and that's why people don't like these RV warranties a lot of times, because they're buying a stated, finding out down the road like, oh that's not covered because it's this.
One way to really kind of help with coverage is because I've been hearing some really radical stories out there. As of lately, this is something new that's coming up that I don't really quite know how to process 100% yet, because it's kind of new, that tactic that people are trying, is that they're just selling this warranty and basically just saying that, oh yeah, it'll do that. But then you look up, somebody would go and look up this warranty coverage company on the internet, can't find nothing on them. So what I would say, until I figure out more on this, which might be, it takes a little bit to just kind of absorb what I know, ask for a brochure, something simple. Say, hey, can you email me, or do you have a physical brochure that I can take, something that you can get a name off of, or a subsidiary company, or the whoever owns this warranty company, that you can actually look it up online to see what people really think about it. Because that, like everything else, it's going to have a consumer review, and you really want to know where your money is being spent. So make sure you get some sort of literature on the warranty. And most managers, when you're talking to them, they'll be like, yeah, just, here's that. Get back to me if you want these additional coverages. And you can typically take a few days to figure out if you want those or not.
And warranties are nice. They can transfer. So if you sell it in 2 years, you can transfer that either to a different one, or you could get a prorated amount back if you didn't have any claims sometimes, or you can give it to the new buyer if you want to give them some incentive to buy. So there's some flexibility there, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So another one to watch out for, that I saw this one, this is insane, is that warranty forever. It's like, oh, that sounds great. Like, give me a warranty that'll last the lifetime of my RV, whatever that is. And I remember the first time I was at a RV dealers only event down in Kentucky, where they were showing off the new models and all that for the dealers first. And some guy, when I walked by his booth from this warranty forever thing, he's like, hey, you should think about this for your dealership. They have warranties that the customer will give you money every year. It's on average an extra $900 coming in from each customer every year that has this warranty, because they have to come in by a certain date, or the whole thing's void, and do certain types of maintenance on the roof and different things.
Yep.
Otherwise, everything's void. But it gets them in the door every year by a certain date, and it gets more money out of their pocket, because they have to pay for all these extra service things you find when you're inspecting it to keep compliant with the warranty. So That whole thing, man, my little BS detectors went up when I heard that. I was like, oh, God.
They'll fly up real quick.
Anyways, lots of good stuff. Great questions, guys. Thank you. And as a thank you for staying with us, I hope you're okay with this, Eric. I got permission from the owner to do this, but he said if anyone watches that whole thing, like puts up with you guys that long, then they deserve the first 2 people that email Eric, and we'll put your contact information here. If they email Eric with subject of 500 in the subject line or in the body of the email to you, the first 2 people, you can give them $500 off their delivery fee. So if they want to take delivery and they're 3 states away or whatever, it can save them some money. Or if they're in Ohio, I guess like our friend down in Hamilton, you can just give them a better price or something. But anyway, so
maybe a
cool.
parts credit or something.
So send it over an email to Eric. Here's his. He put his email in there. And yeah, so we have also a reminder. We have a virtual RV show coming up. Eric was saying, watch out for shows. This one is actually a virtual, so you don't have to worry about we didn't have to go to a lot of expense to haul our RVs to a place and pay all these salespeople, hotels, and do all this stuff. And so this one actually will have a lot of RVs that are currently in stock, but it's a lot of fun. It's going to be look like we're at the RV Hall of Fame, which is, you're going to see some really crazy RVs from the last 111 years of RVing. So you want to check that out. It's a free show coming up April 28th.
The best part about our live RV shows is that we don't know if any one of you are just sitting there in your underwear all day watching.
You don't have to dress up to go to the RV show. That's nice.
We're just going to assume that everybody's dressed up professionally going to look at RVs at some venue.
So I hadn't even thought about that, Eric. So
you're
glad
welcome.
you're on the ball. So let's say goodbye. If when you're saying goodbye, give us a little chat of what your dream is for your new RV. Like, I want to take this thing to the Smoky Mountains, or I want to take my grandkids to their softball games, or what, like whatever you plan to use an RV for. It's fun for us to kind of see, like, hey, wow, these people, this was great. So we're kind of excited for you. We had to stay here and work while you guys get to go and enjoy the camping life, and we're pretty excited for you. And I get to do it on some of the weekends, so can't wait for the snow to go away tomorrow.
That got Don's
and Don
attention.
has a question for you. All right, boys and girls. Been fun. Happy camping soon, and I can't wait for you guys to get into this camping family of people that will be out and about enjoying our country. Take care.